Welcome to a place where silence speaks louder than lies, and every smile hides a story waiting to be uncovered. Here, love doesn't fall apart overnight. It unravels slowly through secret plans, quiet betrayals, and confidence built on deception. These stories begin with trust and end with timing so precise it changes everything. You'll witness patience turning into power, preparation becoming protection, and family loyalties cracking under the weight of truth. Behind closed doors, legal strategies replace affection, whispers replace honesty, and the people who thought they were untouchable discover just how wrong they were. This channel is about what happens when betrayal is overheard, when assets move in silence, when family secrets surface, and when one perfectly chosen moment exposes greed, arrogance, and hidden lives. If you believe the strongest revenge is calm, calculated, and unforgettable, you're exactly where you belong. It began quietly, the way most betrayals do, slipping in through the cracks of ordinary days. Breakfast still happened at the same time. Questions about work still received automatic answers. The marriage looked solid to everyone else, built on years of shared routines and familiar jokes. Yet beneath that surface, something else was being assembled, piece by piece, carefully, deliberately. The first sign wasn't obvious, a sudden need for privacy where none had existed before. Calls taken outside, voices lowered just enough to sound innocent, calendar entries that didn't align with reality, late nights explained with rehearsed ease, as if the explanations themselves had been practiced in advance. Each excuse landed smoothly, but none of them settled right. Then came the overheard fragments, a sentence cut short when footsteps approached, a laugh that didn't belong to a harmless conversation. Words like, after it's finalized, and she won't see it coming, drifting through walls that suddenly felt too thin. There was a chilling calm to it all, as if the future had already been decided, and the present was just something to get through. What hurt most wasn't the planning, it was the confidence behind it, the certainty that nothing would be noticed, that loyalty would remain blind, that trust, once given, could be exploited without consequence. Meetings were happening in offices and cafes, lawyers consulted, scenarios discussed, all while shared dinners continued as usual. Love was being performed while escape routes were being perfected. Every whispered betrayal sharpened awareness. Every secret meeting confirmed what instinct had already sensed. The man across the table wasn't struggling with doubt or guilt. He was rehearsing lines for a life that didn't include the one he was still living. Divorce wasn't a possibility, it was a script, memorized and timed to perfection. Silence became a shield. No accusations, no emotional confrontations, just careful listening, careful watching, careful remembering. The truth revealed itself not in dramatic confessions, but in patterns that repeated too often to ignore. Trust unraveled slowly, thread by thread, until nothing remained but clarity. By the time certainty replaced suspicion, the shock was gone. What remained was something colder, steadier, and far more dangerous than anger. Because when betrayal is discovered in silence, the consequences never are. Love didn't disappear all at once. It was replaced quietly, transaction by transaction, behind doors that stayed closed just long enough to hide what was really happening. While affection was still offered on schedule, legal strategies were being drafted elsewhere, spoken in confident tones meant to sound inevitable. My husband believed patience belonged only to him, that waiting was a sign of weakness. That assumption became the greatest gift. Every smile across the dinner table masked another consultation. Every casual comments about planning for the future carried a double meaning. Documents were copied under the excuse of organizing finances. Passwords changed with careless arrogance. There was comfort in watching the certainty grow on his face, the way someone relaxes when convinced the outcome is already secured. Patience turned sharp. Instead of reacting, attention narrowed. Bank statements told stories words never would. Transfers appeared, then patterns followed. Expenses tied to places never visited together. Promises of loyalty contradicted by numbers that never lie. Vulnerability transformed into focus, and focus became leverage. Emotions were carefully rationed. No tears wasted, no confrontations that would tip the balance. Restraint wasn't denial, it was strategy. Each discovery was logged, dated, preserved. Every signature examined, every clause understood. What he saw as quiet compliance was actually preparation unfolding in real time. The most shocking secret wasn't the divorce plan, it was the assumption that ignorance still ruled the room, that trust, once broken, wouldn't sharpen into something far more dangerous. Assets meant to be divided were never as exposed as he believed. Accounts he assumed were shared told a different legal story. Items dismissed as sentimental carried documented value. Behind closed doors, power shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, but decisively. Vulnerability had been temporary, knowledge was permanent. While he rehearsed conversations about fairness and compromise, the groundwork was already complete. Every move made in secrecy was met with one made in silence. By the time readiness replaced patience, the balance had changed entirely. Love had been replaced, yes, but not with loss. It had been replaced with control. The pressure didn't come all at once. It crept in through family dinners, holiday calls, and familiar faces that suddenly felt less welcoming. Smiles lingered too long. Questions carried weight they never had before. When the truth began to surface, it didn't just expose one betrayal. It revealed how many people had been standing close enough to see it coming and chose silence instead. Conversations shifted the moment separation became a rumor. In-laws who once spoke warmly now offered careful neutrality, as if loyalty could be negotiated. Advice arrived disguised as concern, urging patience and compromise, never asking why the marriage was being dismantled so deliberately. Shared friends avoided eye contact, their discomfort louder than words. Some already knew, others suspected, a few benefited. What hurt most was discovering how long the story had been circulating without me in it. Whispers at family gatherings, side conversations excused as grown-up talk, a sister-in-law who slipped and referenced plans that hadn't been shared yet, a parent who defended actions that were supposedly recent but clearly rehearsed. Each interaction peeled back another layer of truth. The husband presented himself as reasonable, wronged, even generous. The narrative was polished and repeated often enough to sound convincing. Meanwhile, facts told a different story, one of quiet coordination and shared understanding. The affair wasn't just hidden, it had been accommodated. The divorce wasn't shocking, it had been anticipated. Loyalty had shifted long before honesty did. Under pressure, alliances cracked. Some family members asked questions they should have asked months earlier. Others doubled down, protecting the version of events that benefited them most. Money, inheritance, reputation, each motive surfaced eventually. What looked like unity was really convenience holding hands with denial. I listened more than I spoke. Let them reveal themselves. Let discomfort do the work. Truth has a way of unsettling people who helped bury it. The more calmly facts were presented, the more fragile their defenses became. Eyes widened, voices tightened, silence stretched longer than comfort allowed. In the end, the family didn't fracture because of the divorce. It fractured because secrets can't survive daylight. The week unfolded like any other. And that was the point. Nothing changed on the surface. Coffee was poured the same way. Conversations stayed polite, almost rehearsed. He believed the moment was approaching, the clean break he had planned down to the hour. Papers were ready, speeches practiced, confidence settled in like armor. What he didn't realize was how much depended on timing. The first crack appeared the day before everything was supposed to end. A phone call came earlier than expected, loud enough to hear through a half-closed door. A voice sharpened, irritation bleeding through forced calm. Words like, "That wasn't disclosed," and "You assured me," slipped out before the call abruptly ended. When the door opened, the smile returned, strained but intact. The next morning, the papers were placed on the table with a flourish meant to signal control. What followed wasn't the reaction he expected. No panic, no bargaining, just a quiet acknowledgement that landed heavier than anger ever could. That stillness unsettled him more than any argument would have. By afternoon, the unraveling began. Accounts he assumed were untouched weren't where they were supposed to be. Assets he claimed as leverage were suddenly complicated by documentation he didn't know existed. An attorney who once sounded confident now asked cautious questions. The promotion he planned to leverage into freedom stalled when financial disclosures raised red flags. The affair he thought was discreet surfaced through timelines that no longer aligned. Greed showed itself quickly when pressure arrived. He blamed advisors, he blamed misunderstandings, he blamed everyone except himself. Arrogance turned into desperation in real time. Calls went unanswered. Family members distanced themselves, unwilling to absorb fallout they hadn't planned for. The future he rehearsed so carefully began slipping through his fingers. What shocked him most wasn't losing the advantage. It was realizing it had never truly been his. Every secret depended on ignorance. Every plan assumed silence. Once timing shifted, everything collapsed at once. The truth didn't need to be dramatic. It only needed to arrive precisely when he felt safest. By the end of the week, the narrative had flipped. The man who expected control was now explaining himself. The confidence was gone, replaced by damage control and regret that arrived far too late to matter. Because when timing is chosen carefully, revenge doesn't announce itself. It simply lets the truth arrive exactly on schedule. If this story pulled you in, don't let it end here. Like the video to support more stories where truth arrives at the perfect moment, and subscribe for weekly uploads that reveal what happens when patience outsmarts betrayal. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next unraveling, because some endings are only the beginning.